The New York Islanders fall in their final home game of the season, but the more important thing, a moving tribute to Matt Martin. We'll talk about him, his impact on and off the ice, and a lot more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 till the modern era. So glad you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey. We got a lot to discuss. The Islanders losing their final home game of the year to the Washington Capitals. We'll have our key takeaways. We will talk about Matt Martin, who most likely played his final home game in an Islanders uniform, and we'll have our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders. We got to start with Matty Martz. Matt Martin getting a fitting video tribute by the New York Islanders. Patrick Waugh tried to give him a little bit more ice time. He wore the A on his sweater during this game for, a very rare occasion, and maybe even the first time in his career. But overall, clearly, if you were able to watch the morning skate interview that Matt Martin did with the media, how emotional a moment it was for him, and credit to Matt Martin and to the Islanders. And you know what? Credit to the Washington Capitals, because after the game was over, you saw all the Capitals players, one at a time, go over, shake hands, hug, encourage, say goodbye, in essence, to Matt Martin. And, that was one of those things about hockey culture that I absolutely love. These guys go at each other physically and compete against each other. In the case of Matt Martin, for many years against guys like Alexander Ovechkin, for example. And yet when the battle is over, there is a mutual respect. And you saw Ovechkin and the way he spoke to Matt Martin after the game. So that was, one of those spontaneous celebrations that just show the depth of respect that opponents had for Matt Martin. And Matt Martin was out there for 12 minutes and 33 seconds in this game, which is a third more roughly than the average ice time he's gotten this season. He had 3 shots on goal. He even won a faceoff. Kind of weird that he didn't get credited with any hits in this game. It would only be fitting if he did. But think about this. Matt Martin now has played 986 career games in the National Hockey League, with 854 of them coming in a New York Islanders uniform. He joined the Islanders in 2009, 2010 for 5 games, had 2 assists. Here is a player who only once in his 16 seasons in the National Hockey League has scored 10 goals, and he scored exactly 10. Matt Martin survived. No, he actually thrived in the National Hockey League without adding much offense. And Matt Martin, while he was never shy to drop the gloves, that wasn't the focus of his game. In fact, Matt Martin hasn't had 100 penalty minutes in a season since 2016, 2017. Matt Martin got to play in almost 1,000 games in the best hockey league in the world because he forechecked, he worked harder than almost anybody else, he battled for pucks along the boards, he stood up for his teammates, he did all the little things right. And when you're not a gifted goal scorer, you need to do all those little things right in order to survive in this league. Very few hockey players play 16 seasons in the National Hockey League. Very few players approach 1,000 games. And the number of fourth line players that get 1,000 games or more in their career, it's a small number, percentage-wise. So, congratulations to Matt Martin for everything that he accomplished. 986 games in the NHL, 81 goals, 178 points, 1,168 penalty minutes. And just, I have to take it a step further with Matty Martz. It's not just what he did on the ice. Part of the best fourth line in hockey, the identity line. I mean, Matt Martin, Casey Cizikas, Cal Clutterbuck, when the Islanders were going on their back-to-back runs to the conference final, which represents, by the way, the best back-to-back playoff runs the Islanders have made since the dynasty years. Matt Martin was a catalyst of those teams. And what he did in the community, off the ice, with charity work, working with kids, being there for and with the fans. Anytime I interviewed him post-game, he was always somebody I knew I could go to for a good quote, that he would not just give me cliches. He would actually give a thoughtful answer and an appropriate answer. And I just always appreciated that about Matt Martin. So it was an emotional moment to see Matty Martz out there for what is almost certainly the last time as a player in an Islanders uniform at an Islanders home game. The fans definitely saluting Matt Martin. The Islanders, as I said, did the video. But here's the other thing. You really want to see, like, the Islanders are having this final game for Matt Martin and putting the A on his sweater and putting the video tribute up on the board. I like all those things. But how about going out there and just playing one heck of a game in honor of Matt Martin? Win one for the Gipper, win one for Matty Martz. Just go out there and play a Matt Martin style game, maybe. I know that's not this team's style or MO. It is not the way this team plays anymore, and it's perhaps one of the reasons their play has declined, the lack of team physicality. But I think the Islanders as a team had about 5 or 6 hits through 40 minutes of hockey. That's not the way you pay tribute to Matt Martin. And as a team, the Islanders finished with 8 hits in this game. 3 of them, no surprise, by Mark Gatcomb. I wanted to at least see this team play inspired hockey for Matt Martin. And they kind of didn't. Until the third period, it seemed like they were going through the motions. And while I really was moved by the video and the ceremony and the way the Islanders and the Capitals handled this situation, the most fitting tribute the Islanders could have given Matt Martin was to do what Matt Martin did throughout his career. And that was give effort and hustle and hit and play defense and forecheck and be a smart fourth line hockey player. They didn't do that at all. And I know there's only one game left in the season, and I know the game doesn't mean anything. And yes, in the long run, the New York Islanders were better off losing this game to increase their lottery chances and draft position. I get all that. But you want to pay tribute to Matt Martin? The best way to do it is to play inspired hockey. And it was kind of disappointing that the Islanders didn't do enough of that last night against the Capitals. Gotta like the way that the Capitals handled it, the way the, scoreboard handled it, the way Matt Martin handled it. But it just wasn't a fitting finish for the New York Islanders to go through the motions in Matt Martin's final home game. All right, we're going to break down the game. We've got a lot more to get to. Our key takeaways from the game, hero and go to the game. What did the Islanders do well? What did they not do well? We'll have our weekly farm report. And for our Islanders birthday of the day, a former first-round pick of the Islanders who played in the late 2000s through the mid-2000 teens, who just retired recently. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that and more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You could track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch Money to check finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com. for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. So the Islanders fall 3-1. Dylan Strome gets all 3 goals for the Capitals. Only 1 goal for the Islanders. J.G. Pageau gets credit after a Hudson Fasching shot kind of glances in off his leg or his skate and ends up going into the net. Overall, I think the Islanders just did not play particularly inspired hockey. I mentioned the lack of physicality. Everydayers, this is a lot of the same stuff we've seen too much, where the team just didn't seem to have enough juice until the third period when they were already down 2-0. Ilya Sorokin played a solid game, made 33 saves, only gave up 2 goals because the last goal by Strome was an empty netter. But again, you just do not see enough from this Islanders team as far as the intensity and the just the way that they should be approaching the game. And everydayers, you know how I feel about this. Adam Pelech cleared concussion protocol. He played in this game. Again, with nothing at stake. Why? He's out there for 18 minutes and 24 seconds of ice time. Why is Ilya Sorokin playing in this game? The approach of this team did not make a lot of sense with nothing at stake and a chance to give some of the players down in Bridgeport, some prospects, a taste of the NHL. By the way, Scott Perunovich back in the lineup for the Islanders, Alexander Romanov out of the lineup with an illness, not an injury, but still, here we see a team with, all right, I'll put it this way. I understand in some ways wanting to play veterans, but on the other hand, if your veterans are going through the motions, and that's the way this team has kind of been playing lately, if your veterans are going through the motions, there is no point in continuously playing them in these games. You bring up 2 or 3 players from Bridgeport. I'm not saying call up the whole team, but you bring up 2 or 3 guys. It'll give you some enthusiasm. It'll give you some juice. It just makes too much sense to me to have that happen. And yet it did not happen. And there's only one game left for it to happen. We know what Scott Mayfield and Adam Pelech and Ryan Polak can do. We know what Casey Cizikas and Pierre Engvall and Bo Horvat can do, Anders Lee. Let some of these other guys, again, I'd call up 2 or 3 or 4. Just give them a taste. Prevent injuries, especially you're talking about Pelech and Sorokin, guys who have been hurt. There's nothing to prove at this point, but it might just give the team a little jolt of energy. And everydayers, it was the same problems, in the first 2 periods. Inability to clear the zone. Special teams, as always, not getting the job done. The first goal by the Capitals came on the power play. The Islanders' power play. Very few good chances, very little zone time, just not a good enough performance by the New York Islanders special teams. And it was just, as they say, the same old song for the New York Islanders. And I think even with the tribute to Matt Martin, you saw the fans were pretty quiet, except when they showed the video and they applauded and saluted Martin. The fans weren't even chanting anything like, Lou must go, or booing the team or cheering the team for most of the game. They were just kind of there. There were a lot of empty seats. I just did not like the atmosphere at this final game, both on the ice and in the stands. And I don't blame fans. I'm not criticizing the fans for A, those who decided not to show up, and B, last game of the season, you're out of the playoffs. The team, it's the burden of the team to give the fans something to cheer about. And they didn't do it. And, there were a couple of good sequences in the third period, and Lindgren came up big for the Caps. But overall, you want to see a better performance from the Islanders to inspire the fans. And it just, for the most part, was not there. Hero and go to the game. Hero of the game's got to be Matt Martin. I don't think there's any debate. Yes, it is not for what he did in this game, but it is for what he's done for the Islanders organization on and off the ice over the course of his career. So it's got to be Matt Martin as the hero. And go to the game, I'll stick with special teams, even though I could go in a few other directions. Bo Horvat, Kyle Palmieri, and Anders Lee, which is the Islanders' top line, right? That's your top trio. All of them -2 in this game. So they didn't come through, but I'll stick with special teams because I just think there's plenty of blame to go around overall. And it was disappointing. By the way, Kyle McLean, kudos to him. He took 12 faceoffs in this game. He won 10 out of 12. So that was encouraging and a good performance. And here's the other thing that I liked about this performance by Kyle McLean. Coming into the season, last year, faceoffs were a problem for him. I think he was around 42% last year. And he worked hard all off season to improve in the faceoff dot. And he did. And he did. And I have to give him credit for that he got the job done and improved in this area. It's something that the Islanders value. It's something the Islanders as a team have been good at this year. And McLean made sure that he wasn't going to be the weak link where, J.G. Pageau, 59%. Before the trade, Brock Nelson was 55% or so. Bo Horvat, 56%. I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but all of the top centers on the Islanders tended to do very well in the faceoff dot. And then last year, McLean, 42%. He improved this year. So it was overall, I give a lot of credit to Kyle McLean for working on that aspect of his game and improving it over the course of the offseason, and it paid off this season. Now he's got to work on a few other things, but that was a very positive development. And again, you put in the work and you get the results. So Kyle McLean, kudos on your improvement in the faceoff dot and a great game against the Capitals. We've got more to get to on today's show. What's going on down on the farm? We'll talk about a dubious record set by the Bridgeport Islanders as their season winds down. All that plus our Islanders birthday of the day coming up next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. Everything from three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you could even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. So don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. That's FanDuel.com to claim your $250 bonus bets. Do it now. Time now for our weekly farm report where we discuss all things Bridgeport Islanders. Everydayers, I mentioned it in passing yesterday when we were talking about Cole Yzerman, but boy, Bridgeport had 3 games since our last farm report over the last week. And in the process of losing those games, unfortunately, all of them being home games, they set a record for futility in AHL history. The Bridgeport Islanders played 36 home games this year, just like every team does in the AHL. Do you know how many games they won out of those 36 at home? 4. No AHL team has reached that level of futility at home in one season than the Bridgeport Islanders. And we could talk all we want about the changes that need to be made at the NHL level for this team, and there are a lot. But boy, Bridgeport needs a lot of cleaning up. Their approach, the way they develop their players, the product they put on the ice. I feel bad for fans of the Bridgeport Islanders who have to watch a team 36 times. Imagine having season tickets and watching a team 36 times and they lose 32 of them. That's ugly. And things need to change, whether it's a new coach, a new general manager, a new approach. better scouting, better desire as to whether you want to win or develop. You got to do one of the two. Right now, they're not doing either particularly well. It's definitely a struggle, and it's frustrating to say the least. So let's go over the games. Last Wednesday, they lost at home to the Hartford Wolfpack. That's the Rangers AHL affiliate. 2 goals for Joey Larson, his first 2 professional goals. Chris Terry had an assist to break the franchise scoring record. Tristan Lennox, 20 saves, but not enough as the Islanders fall to the Wolfpack 3-2. Then they met again over the weekend and unfortunately lose 5-3 to the Wolfpack. And look, they were down 4-0 early on Saturday, but made it a game, but couldn't finish the comeback. Brian Pinho had his 25th goal of the year. That leads the team. Tice Thompson and Alex Jeffries also with goals. Marshall Warren with a couple of assists. Hunter Miska with 22 saves, but again, a 5-3 loss. And then closing it out on Sunday, a 5-2 defeat at the hands of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Ross Mitten and Gleb Veremeyev both scored their first professional goals, but it wasn't enough. And TJ Semptimfelter, he made 18 saves in his professional debut, but again, it wasn't enough, and they fall in the loss. So looking at the statistics right now with 2 games left on the schedule, Chris Terry, 66 points to lead the team by far. He has 47 assists. Only one player has more than half of that, and that's Samuel Bolduc with 26 assists. Brian Pinho leads the team with 25 goals. The only other 20-goal scorer right now, Liam Foudy, who has 20. Samuel Bolduc, as I mentioned, 9 goals, 35 points to lead all defensemen. Alex Jeffries, 12 goals, 28 points in 57 games. Standings-wise, Bridgeport, 15, 48, and 7. That gives them a 264 points percentage. And again, as I mentioned, just very, very far away from the next team in the standings. They will close out the season with 2 road games this Friday in Hartford and then Saturday at Providence. A 7 o'clock start on Friday, 7:05 on Saturday, and that will mercifully end what was a very difficult season for the Bridgeport Islanders. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day, and today is the 37th birthday of former Islanders winger Kyle Okposo, the native of St. Paul, Minnesota. First-round pick of the Islanders in 2006, 7th overall pick. Joined the team for the 07-08 season after a season and a half at the University of Minnesota, and eventually played on the Islanders' top line along with John Tavares, had 24 goals in 2011-2012, 27 goals in 2013-2014. Stuck with the Isles through the end of the 15-16 season, then played for Buffalo before joining the Florida Panthers at the trade deadline last year, and he did win a Stanley Cup finally with the Panthers as he hung up his skates. 1,051 career NHL games, 242 goals, 614 points, 554 penalty minutes, add 7 goals, 17 points in 41 playoff games, all of those with the Islanders except for the 17 games he played last year during the Panthers' Stanley Cup run. One of his better games as an Islander, well, let's say this. His best game as an Islander, January 16th, 2015, Islanders hosting the Penguins at the Nassau Coliseum. Marc-Andre Fleury in goal for Pittsburgh. Yaroslav Halak is the Islanders goalie. And the Islanders fell behind 2-0 on power play goals by Sidney Crosby and David Perron. But then our Islanders birthday of the day, Kyle Okposo, he scores his 10th from John Tavares and Josh Bailey. That made it 2-1 after one. And then with the score 3-2 after 40 minutes of play, with the Islanders trailing by a goal, Kyle Okposo takes over in the third period. 6.5 minutes in, he scores his 11th from Josh Bailey and Thomas Hickey. Then 5 minutes later, his 12th from Josh Bailey and Travis Hamonic. And then at 17:29, with Steve Downey in the box for slashing, a power play goal by Kyle Okposo, Brock Nelson and John Tavares with the assists. An empty netter by Michael Grabner ends the scoring, but the Islanders beat the Penguins 6-3. And in this game, Kyle Okposo, not just a hat trick, a 4-goal game. He was a +3. He netted the game winner. He had 4 goals in 6 shots on goal, which did pace the team. And the Islanders come away with the win. Jaro Halak, 21 saves to get the dub, but a 4-goal effort by Kyle Okposo. We remember that because he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. It's on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, send us an email to lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever it is that's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR vs NYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Everydayers, we're back tomorrow. We will preview the Islanders' season finale against the Columbus Blue Jackets, so make sure you join us for that. We'll also have any news, notes, and happenings. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.